Hello. Do you know what it is? So say loud. I want to know some energy from you. So what this is, this thing on the picture? Yeah, right. And do you know there is a competition in eating hamburgers? And try guess how many hamburgers a person is able to eat within 8 minutes. Just shout the number. 15 or 50? 50. More. 20 is less than 50. And I said that it's more. 8 minutes. You are close. You are close. Some other guesses? Come on, try. More than 100. It's not 86. Okay, guys, try. Okay. So it's 108 hamburgers per 8 minutes. There are special kind of competitions which are called speed eating. And yeah, basically it's about eating a lot of and within the shortest amount of time, which is actually possible. And there, of course, there's a different kind of food that we are eating fast. But today on the lunch we will have burgers, so I hope this suits. But please try not to compete and don't eat 108 hamburgers during the lunch because it could be hurtful for the rest of the day. So beware. You have to say louder because I didn't. Yeah, yeah, it could be the case. Okay, so I hope that maybe you see the pattern. So our business clients also have like constant carving for more and more within the short period of time, but they don't actually want hamburgers from us, but features. So today we'll speak a bit about feature gluttony in the meaning that our customers are want more and more and more. And we, of course, try to figure it out if it's actually bad or not. Maybe it's good that they want new features because they're paying for them, so we receive our salary. So maybe it's good. My name is Mrowca, and I will be your host today, except that I'm IT geek. I, of course, have other passions, and it's skiing. Skiing is nearly as good as IT. And on daily basis, I deal with the clients and requirements. So that's why we'll try to figure it out why we actually should care if our customers want a bit too more features that they actually need. Because as I said before, they are paying us. So why we should care? So basically, we would like to have good software. I don't know how many of you are familiar with SAP software. Please raise your hand. Okay, not many of you, but the point is that here they try to compare their software to something that they consider that is even worse. And I think it's not our aim to build like crappy software, but awesome one. And that's why we should actually care and talk with our clients, our customers, our users, in order to figure it out if the things that they're asking us actually fulfill their business needs and are crucial for the application. And of course, during the talk, we try to figure it out what are the bad and what are maybe the good sides of having this kind of like feature gluttony. So, as I said, gluttony is carving for more and more within short period of time. But what is the root cause of it? This is the question, because sometimes our users want more features simply because they are not able to do the thing they actually want to do. It's maybe really simple, but there could be a lot of things that actually make this inconvenient for them, the application, the whole process. So maybe we should figure it out what is the reason. So maybe there's something wrong with the process. It's similar if we are like overweighted. Sometimes we are overweighted because we are eating too much, but sometimes we have some kind of disease or other problems. The same is with the companies. Maybe the company would like to have more features because they have the wrong processes. They are not suitable for the having application. I think that a really nice example is the universities and their information systems. I don't know how many of you have studied during the implementation of those systems, but I had this pleasure, and we have like 2 processes, and everything was really taking twice as long because university got a system, so everything was written in paper, and then they have to transfer it to the computers. So instead of making things faster and more smooth, actually buying a software caused that the students have to wait in the longer queues because nice lady in the offices have to, write the marks in a special kind of card and then transfer it to the computer. So it's not actually good. And also, please remember that cartoons and jokes have the expression in real life. So, of course, we are joking here from the universities and so on. But I think that in every company there is at least one piece of process that is actually inefficient because someone ordered application and didn't think about redesigning the process and then implemented the application in a correct way. So, in order to have the really nice and smooth process. And, wanting and having much features, it's not bad if we can actually accomplish things that we actually want to do. So just imagine that this is our application. If we are able to actually accomplish our business aim, even if we are a little bit fat as this kitten, it's everything fine. Here our aim was just to go inside the building or outside actually. So yeah, it's everything okay, but it could also be the another way. So if we are too overweighted to actually accomplish our business aim, so to do the thing that the application is designed for, this is the place when our problems actually starts. So remember, if you are asked to add features more and more, sometimes it's good to speak up and actually ask why. So I just wonder how many of you work in some kind of agile methodology, so Scrum or whatever. Please raise hands. Okay, a lot of you. And how many of you have contact with business, clients, users, or someone who actually is responsible for dealing with requirements? Okay, a lot of you. So then, when you just see requirement and you see that it's not fitting and actually it's making the application more heavy, just speak up and say, okay, maybe we should rethink it. And also I have a really nice example from Microsoft here. And how many of you used Outlook? Okay, some of you know this application. There's of course, except the Outlook, the Messenger also delivered by Microsoft, which is called Link. How many of you know how Link looks like? Of course, few people, okay. So it's like instant messaging communicator. So you are able to write fast the message and some other person can receive it. So they recently introduced calendar in Link. And it's maybe brilliant idea because you can see your appointments in Link so you don't have to go to the Outlook. But unfortunately, delivering this feature caused that putting every meeting in Outlook causes the synchronization between the apps, and it takes hours, maybe not hours, but like ages, it's like 2 or 3 seconds. So in current current culture, it's simply too much, and especially that if we compare to the same adding things to the calendar before having this update was smooth and quick, then we see that there is something wrong here and users are actually not happy with the new feature. Maybe it's nice, Maybe someone would like to use it, but still it interferes the basic thing that Outlook is for, and link. So that's why we should somehow figuring out if we need features that our customers are asking or not. Okay, but saying more why those things are actually bad. Adding new features creates complexity. If we have more complex code base, it's of course harder to maintain. And even if we try to have like separate modules, if we continuously add more features and more features and more features, there will be dependencies between them. And if you have dependencies, then sometime, some point in the future, you can find out that you actually don't know if you just touch this part of the code, if it doesn't actually somehow influence the another part. And maybe I broke something by accident because I simply don't know how it should be working. So yeah, and of course there's a problem with managing such things and making it usable for the users. So if you have too many things, you simply don't know where to focus because which sign to follow. So the same is with the application. If it's heavy in the features, then it's sometimes hard to figure out how to use it. And that's why we need manuals. The same is with making our customers and users happy. We of course want to make them happy, but giving them more and more, in this case maybe more chocolate, don't cause actually making them more happy. Because if you eat too much chocolate, you usually feel bad. If it's too less, it's also, like it's not enough, so you're also sad. So you have to somehow figure out the right amount of the features in order to make our users and customers happy. So here we have happiness and the number of features. For each application, it could be different case. Please take into consideration that I can imagine that some of you are working in a corporate software, so it's like usually big and complex, and it's really easily getting somewhere here with the numbers of features, and some of you are working in nice web applications which are meant to be light and really efficient and with good user experience. But remember, adding the features, so in the beginning, usually users are complaining that it's too less for them, they can't do anything. Then if we working in Scrum or any other agile methodology and we are keep to build new features and new features, they're becoming more happy because they see the progress, then can achieve more and more. And there is a point in time when they are happy. And how do you think? Do they actually ask for more features when they are like in this happiness state? Just raise your hand if you think that's yes. Okay, and the rest thinks that no. Please raise your hand if you are thinking that no, they are not asking. Okay, so the rest don't decide either way, okay. Yeah, usually they are asking for more. So this is the nature of them. And we want to be nice, and they are paying us, so we deliver more. And then we have to trying to figure out how to actually use application because it's becoming complex and we have the problems I actually mentioned before. So the usability, complexity, and actually figuring out how the process looks like. Then we can start to thinking about, okay, where is our favorite feature? Do you remember this Microsoft example? It's, I think, good one, because the basic feature is actually blurred by the new features. And then there is a point of time when we actually thinking, okay, I can't do the thing that I actually bought the application for. I think that it's rare, but it could exist. And in the end, we think that it's useless. So there is Pareto rule in our universe, and it could be also applied to our software. So basically it means that 80% of users use 20% of the application. So if we are building new applications, it's worth to remember in order to identify 20%, which is the most important, and deliver it first. of course, the rest it could be also important for the users. Another example for Microsoft, they introduced the ribbon, I think, like few years ago, like 6, I think. And before that, they have like standard menu. And in the ribbons, you see only the most important thing, the things that you are using most frequently. And this is also the example how hard actually simplifying the interface for the complex application is. Because in the beginning, when they introduced ribbons, people really didn't like it. So yeah, so it's better to build something simple and trying not to add too many features, and actually try to keep the application lean in terms of not having too many features. The question is how. So the first rule is that we should at least try to build a team between us and our business clients, our users, depending from whom we are cooperating with. It's quite easy if you are working in internal IT department, because usually it means that you can work closely with your business, you can meet them in your kitchen, ask them questions, they are available for you. If you are working with a company which actually delivers software, it's like a software house or it's kind of outsourcing, so your business you are delivering application for is quite far of you, and maybe there's like thousands of proxy between, it's actually hard, but still we should try at least to communicate efficiently with them and say, okay, what is actually good and bad in terms of the adding the features, because usually they simply don't know. They're experts, but only domain experts. What I mean by this, it's usually the case that they are really good in their business, but they need our guidance in order to make great software, because they are not aware of technical constraints. They usually don't know what the things we are talking to them mean. So we have to try to simplify the language and cooperate, because then we can transfer business knowledge from them and transfer technical knowledge to them. And that's why we can cooperate and omit the cases like this. Who's seen this comedy sketch before? Just raise hands. Okay, I know many of you, so I tweeted. Basically, this is a hilarious situation when business people actually try to convince IT people how they should build software. So it's not working this way. And the same is for us. If we try to convince business that they are doing it wrong, they usually feel offended, as we feel offended if someone actually think, oh, you should write this application instead of Java in C++. So the same, it's work in the both ways. And also, the important thing is to have a common aim. What I mean by this, especially if you are working a model that you are in an external company and you are building a software for another company, just imagine we have like completely two different aims. So our company would like to earn money. Of course, there's also a lot of nice value statements, vision, mission, and whatever. And another company also would like to earn money and also have vision, mission, values, and so on. And usually those two basic things, so making money in one case and making money in the other case, are not necessarily aligned, because our company would like to charge for our work with proper margin, and they would like to have something cheaper. It's like natural thing. So we at least try to cooperate on this business level and needs level. And what does it mean? So if we would like to make application lean and deliver less feature than our clients ask, it could cause problems in our company, because we are paid for delivering features, yeah? So if we are saying, oh, you actually don't need this feature, it could be at least a bit against of the basic aim, so earning money. But in a long-term relationships, it actually is better, because we are gaining the trust of our business partners. And it's really hard to gain a trust. So those small steps actually help to build the team and help to set a common aim. So what else is important? We need to know the aim in order to measure stuff and actually try to build good software among this common aim. But going further, how to keep it simple? So we know that we should build the team. We shouldn't actually interfere with the business things like, talking to business, oh, you should this, then different way. But we should, of course, cooperate. But there's also other rules that actually can help us to make the application simpler. I put here apes because I think that they are really good example of having things really simple and nice and neat. And of course, I want that everyone would have so nice applications. So first of all, define most important business process. What does it mean? Also, maybe we can use an example. So how many of you listen to the radio? Okay, there are still few listeners. And the radio actually earn money because of the ads. They are playing ads, then they are playing music, some kind of news, maybe weather forecast, then ads again, and so on. So if just imagine that we are building application to support radio. So we would like to support selling ads or maybe putting them on air. So this is our main business, so selling ads. So we identify it, and we know that if we broke in software this piece, it actually means that our company can go bankrupt. Because just imagine, we are having application to sell ads and or putting them on air, and suddenly our ads not going on air because our application broke. It's actually bad because 1 minute of silence in the radio probably costs a lot and could cause actually even more if it's some kind of other more crucial thing in the things that are, I don't know, maybe you are working in a investment industry or bank industry, and let's say that suddenly few billions of pounds or zloty or whatever currency is missing on your system because there were a bug. So yeah, it could, differ and depends. So those are the crucial thing to remember. So we have this business process, and let's say that we would like to deliver new feature. And delivering new feature also should be based on the basic use cases, so knowing how we actually want to use the application. So in returning to the radio example, so we would like to sell and put on air. Those are the two valid business cases. So adding the features somewhere there should actually cause also thinking, okay, how this influence on those main use cases. Then, of course, we have to figure it out how to measure. What I meant by that. Not only the final outcome, so if something is faster or easier, but also what is the influence on the main business process. So we are putting ads on air. This is our feature, and let's say that we would like to sort ads. Let's say that the shortest ad is the first and the longest in the end. Okay, it seems quite reasonable. Maybe someone would like to listen first short ads and then longer one, but maybe there are other constraints. So let's imagine that we have another feature built before, which actually disallow us to put on air ads which are from similar vendors. Let's say that we would like not to advertise the juice from Timberg and juice from Hortex next to each other because they are competitors and they probably won't be necessarily happy if we do so. So actually introducing the sorting could destroy this previous one. So because sorting usually, especially by length, not include this previous constraint. So that's why we should think and deciding how we actually measure the inference for the core process of new feature. The same is with the example with Outlook. If someone actually thought before if adding the calendar to link will slow down the Outlook, probably they maybe think more before putting it in the production. And also remember, just if you put something in the production in the corporate systems, it probably stays there forever till someone decides to refactor it or rewrite the whole system. And it's the different in the internet application when they are quite flexible. So they are mobile, it's easy to actually add and remove features in corporate. Okay, we'll also talk about how to remove features from corporate applications as well, but it's more difficult. So yeah, so we know the influence for our business process. We can, of course, illustrate it here. Unfortunately, you can't see the signs, but this is the process. Then we just introduce the application. The process slightly changes. So see this red thing here? Before it was somewhere here. It's like online payment. So let's say that we had the model where before we paid in the end of the process, and now we are ordering the page when we actually could pay it instantly for the service we would like to receive. So if we just left this as it was before, so here, we would have like double payment. It could be reasonable in some cases. So let's say that we are ordering the pizza, maybe we would like to have a choice if we want to pay by our credit card online, or maybe we would like to pay to pizza deliver. So always we have to think about it. In some cases, there is no sense of having this double. So think about university and double process, so internet process and then manual one again. So there's no sense of duplicating it. And of course, this kind of graphs can actually help you to see if there's an influence for the most crucial part of your business process. So if you're adding somewhere here the feature, you can actually see if it's influence for the another part of the chain and try to figure it out if its influence is positive or negative. If it's making the process more smooth, it's definitely positive. If it's heavy, then maybe we should think about diet. What I mean by diet, I mean cutting features and sometimes even maybe deleting code, but we'll talk about it a bit. So before we actually want to go to the diet, we should have like aim. So think about the one thing that we would like to focus on, one use case, and try to observe one features. Why it should be only one? Just because if we are focused on too many things at once, we actually won't able to see if the things that we are measuring and capturing are actually reflecting the real picture. And if we are working on a corporate software, we usually don't those things at all. If you are working on mobiles application, usually you are just, of course, measuring everything, having like Google Analytics or stuff like that, and trying to figure it out what is actually good for your application and what is bad. In the corporate systems, their measurements are rare, and I really encourage you to actually try to measure and figure it out if we need features or not. Why? Because maybe your users don't use this really old piece of code, which is only legacy code, and maybe we can simply delete it, and we don't need to refactor it, maintain it, and have a cost of having it actually. So that's why choose one, observe, measure, and try to measure things that matters. In the we will talk about it in a minute. What I mean by reference data, I mean that we should measure it before and during and after the, let's say, that some period of time. So you should have the initial data in order to have some kind of comparisons and in order to be able to actually say that something is good or bad, returning to the things that matter. What I mean by this, if we have example with Outlook again, So if someone would measure how long it takes to add new thing to the calendar before adding the new fancy calendar in link, and after it, they probably figured out, oh, come on, it's taking 4 times longer than it used to be. It's something wrong there. But they probably didn't do this. So try to figure out what are the things that matter for your users and for your application, and try to capture it and measure it. So the same is with the process. So if we are putting or changing the process, it's good to measure end-to-end scenario in order to actually know if changing the order or changing or adding some new piece to it actually improve the stuff, or maybe it's getting worse because our end-to-end process is longer. And it shouldn't be, because of course everyone would like, faster, more cheaper, and with high quality, of course, yeah? So we should measure. And how we actually could try to at least figure it out how actually observe those one things. There are things that are called toggles. So if we have several features, here is the example with payments, and we would like to add payment because previously we have only cash. I know those are rather complementary than the substitutes, but still somehow sometimes you can have substitutes and try to actually switch off some of them and switch on only one, measure the time needed for the end-to-end scenario and see if it's faster, shorter, how it is. Try to at least figure out how many people sign in if we have online payment and if it's any improvement there. Of course, if our company would like to have more users sign in. And the end process, so buying, how many people actually bought the thing when we introduced the feature. Maybe people didn't want to buy because previously we didn't have online payment. So that's why we can, try to figure it out. And the same is within the bigger system. So if we have like magic buttons somewhere in the system that we actually don't know if our users use or not, we can put some loggers in our code, let's say for a half a year, and try to measure if someone is clicking there or not. If they are not clicking, then maybe it's a good time to delete it, or at least hide it and try to, for another, let's say 3 months, wait if someone actually noticed that this button is hide. And if not, then maybe it's good course to delete it. But what else is important here? One personal, let's say, advice. I did something similar with my team, and there was a button which we observed for a half a year. Nobody was using it, so we decided to just, hide it for the next 3 months. And then there was really a lot of pressure just to delete it because it was heavy, old kind of a system and a lot of legacy code, really complicated, and trying to build new features were actually hard because this part of the code. And then suddenly there was a point in a year when users actually would like to use this button because it was like only, let's say, feature used once per year. And we have a lot of luck because it was within those 3 months, so we didn't delete code yet. Users ask for it, so we can, quickly correct it on the production, and nothing happened. But try also to figure it out if actually there are features that are used really rarely, and maybe there seems to be not crucial, but they are like maybe some kind of reporting stuff or so on. So not only taking in consideration that someone didn't use it very long, but also how people are actually using the feature. So this also matter. And returning to this example of having half a year of observing and 3 months of actually hiding the button, we actually delete few things and nobody even noticed. So yeah. But beware, it could be also the bad if you just deleted a thing that they are using only once a year and then someone actually figured out. So beware, but at least try. It make the application simpler. So quick summary, because I'm running out of time. Remember, 20% of the application is used by the 80% of users. You can implement it really easy to the daily life, and in terms of actually figuring out what features are needed and what are not, adding new features, building complexity. And complexity is hard to maintain. There is always a point of time where the users have enough features. They, of course, are not aware of it. But remember that adding more, it's not necessarily a good thing. In order to actually deal with those things, we have to understand the key business process, and we can easily understand it by only looking for a business and talking with them and making a team and trust within us. Try to define use cases in order to be more aware about what you are building, and try to figure out the measurements. And to the end, remember that adding a features is actually easy. The hard thing is to make applications simple. So thank you for your attention. Do you have any questions? Mm-hmm.
You were talking about hiding the feature button.
Yeah.
Did you even try to ask the client if we could remove the feature?
Yeah, but usually if you ask them, they say, no, we are using it. And sometimes, okay, it's of course depends how many users you have and what is your actual business model. If you are working in an internal IT department, you have like one client, it's actually easy to negotiate with them. But if you are building software and you have multiple clients, and sometimes you even don't know your clients and it's hard to ask them, sometimes measurements are good because you can actually make things simpler. And especially for the old systems with a lot of legacy code. For the new fancy systems, when you are, I don't know how many of you are working on, let's say, software which is really brandly new and have no legacy code. So please raise your hands. 1, 2 people, okay. So the rest, I assume, have some problems with legacy code. So if it's the case and you cannot negotiate because you are building some enterprise stuff for multiple clients, then it's one of the ways. I think I also present it because it's, I think, the simplest thing that you actually do is the measurements, because you own the code and you can put some stuff there and, it's easy. And, talking is hard. Some other questions, maybe.
We have a few minutes, maybe some, okay.
How you can explain client you want to add a new feature, because I think it's very hard.
Yeah, it is, but usually if you just try to say, okay, I just skip few slides. If you are able to model client's process, usually maybe not you, but maybe there is some kind of business analyst or someone from the client side that actually have those things drawn, because big companies usually have. And you can show him, okay, if you're adding a new feature, you are influencing in a bad way to your process because it's making longer. They usually think, oh my gosh, if the things are taking longer instead of shorter, it's mean that we are losing money. It's the one possibility. If it's like too fancy or too complicated to actually build diagrams like that, also you can use the kind of estimations. So let's say that you have two alternatives. So one is building a feature and another is some kind of the workaround with the current application features. So you have to have them both in order to start discussion. If you are saying only, okay, we won't build it, it's not gonna work because people have like a need. So as I said in the beginning, it could be like kind of disease, so the not well-designed processes. It could be something else that maybe they just used to spending money on new features. You know, there are plenty of stuff like that. So if you figured out that, okay, dear client, you can do it actually like this, and it's simpler and less heavy and faster and you know, things like that. And here is our estimate, so it would cost like, let's say, 10,000 zlotych, and you can actually save this and maybe put those money in another different investment. Then they can't, you know, think. They really like money, so if you give them estimate, which actually reflects some kind of the money, they usually are, you know, really happy. And if you use the magic word savings, they are delighted. So yeah, but also sometimes you are not able to give the money because you, let's say, estimate in story points, and story points don't have any connection with money. Okay, maybe some project managers, they have like magic Excels and make those connections, but put this aside, we can also try to give them those, I have to find it. Okay. No. Okay, I have too many slides to find it, but I hope that you remember this slide with toggling on and toggling off. If there were also, oh, here it is. There were like example of measurements. So if you can somehow justify that adding or removing features actually influence the key thing, which is in this case buying, it also could help in a conversation. So my answer is it depends, but you can, I hope, figure it out based on those examples how to approach in your case.
If there are no more questions, thank you very much for the lecture.
Thank you for your attention.